Jeffrey Russell sent Flat Stanley to visit his Aunt Amy and Uncle Christian in Austin, Texas. We were excited to show Flat Stanley around Austin and to share with you what he saw and learned while he was visiting. Flat Stanley traveled approximately 1,200 miles from Minnesota to Austin, Texas. He traveled straight south on Interstate Highway 35, which begins in Minnesota and ends in Texas. Texas is the second largest state in the U.S. In fact, Texas is so big that Minnesota would fit right inside of it with room to spare. There's a saying down here that everything's bigger in Texas. The only state larger than Texas is Alaska. Hey, Jeffrey's been to Alaska, but that's another story. When Flat Stanley arrived at our house, he was exhausted from the long trip, so relaxed by the pool. We told him that he wasn't allowed to swim. Our dogs Sunny and Harper wanted to play with Flat Stanley by the pool, but we didn't let them run off with him. After relaxing, we took Flat Stanley shopping for some Texas-style clothing. He saw rows and rows of cowboy boots. That's a lot of boots. He tried on some boots, but we could not find a pair in his size. He also tried on a big old cowboy hat. While he was shopping, he met some real cowboys. The cowboys told Flat Stanley that Austin is known as the live music capital of the world. He was interested in hearing some authentic Texas music, so we headed to a small town just south of Austin called Greene. On the way to Greene, we stopped at an enormous gas station called Buc-ee's. Flat Stanley decided this was a great place to play hide and seek. He hid in the Buc-ee's stuffed animal section. State troopers who were there found him and put him in handcuffs. But they were only pulling a prank on Flat Stanley. He was free to go. When we arrived in Greene, Flat Stanley decided to climb a tree to get a closer look at the old water tower above Greene Hall. He also saw a large cactus and decided to check out the yellow flowers that were blooming. Next, we went to Greene Hall, which is the oldest dance hall in Texas. Flat Stanley was excited to hear some live music. We watched a famous Texas musician named Ruby Jane play fiddle and guitar. Her music is playing in the background right now. She's still in high school, but she plays fiddle with many famous country singers. Flat Stanley loved her music. On the way back to the house, we stopped at Rudy's for some Texas barbecue. Flat Stanley thought it was very funny that this sign states that Rudy's is the worst barbecue in Texas. Flat Stanley learned how to smoke a brisket, and the friendly staff showed him around the barbecue pits. They taught him how to slice a brisket too. Flat Stanley's next adventure was around downtown Austin. The Colorado River runs through downtown Austin, but it's called Lady Bird Lake. Unlike Minnesota, there are very few lakes in Texas. So I guess we just call a river a lake down here. The state capitol building is also in downtown Austin. While outside of the Capitol building, Flat Stanley saw the coat of arms above the entrance, which represent the 6 flags over Texas. Flat Stanley thought that 6 Flags was just an amusement park, but he learned that these are the flags of the 6 countries that ruled the territory that is now Texas. Next, Flat Stanley headed to the visitor center. He had to pass through an X-ray machine when he entered the Capitol. After he passed security, a state trooper was happy to show Flat Stanley around the Capitol building. Flat Stanley saw a statue of Stephen F. Austin, who was known as the Father of Texas. He also saw a statue of Sam Houston, who was the first president of the Republic of Texas and later the governor when Texas joined the United States. Flat Stanley had tons of fun at the Capitol. We also visited the Texas State History Museum, where Stanley learned that Texas is known as the Lone Star State. That's one big star. Before we left downtown, we made a quick stop at the University of Texas. Stanley wanted a photo in front of the UT Tower. There were a lot of people on the UT campus because it was graduation weekend. Stanley met some students who taught him the UT fight song. After a full day of exploring, we stopped at a Tex-Mex restaurant called Chewy's, which happens to be one of Jeffrey's favorite restaurants. Although Jeffrey lives in Minnesota, he is the only member of his entire family that is actually a Texan. He was born in San Antonio, Texas. Thank you for sending us Flat Stanley. We had a lot of fun. Bye.